Welcome to one of the most listened to music news podcasts in the world, SGNP, with your host, Darren Southerland. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, artists, and entertainers about their faith, family, and careers. This is information you will not find anywhere else on radio, web, or in a magazine, but only firsthand on SGNP.
Ray, you're the only gospel group that ever got to sing at the White House that we can recall. Tell us what that experience was like.
Well, the experience was just, it was great. I'll tell you how that happened.
SGNP, we're reaching all across the world now. I was looking at our download numbers the other day, and Norway, Sweden, Finland, over 2,000 people have listened to us in Ireland. And who makes that possible? MyPillow. That's right, MyPillow. And right now, MyPillow's got a great offer for you. It's buy one, get one free when you use the code SGNP. Man, don't that sound good? Buy one, get one free when you use the code SGNP. Call them today, 1-800-544-8939, 1-800-544-8939. Tell them the code SGNP. Get buy one, get one free on their premium pillows. It's that simple. Thank MyPillow when you're calling for supporting gospel music and SGNP.
If you love Jesus, stand up, identify, stand up and tell us all about it. Stand up and testify.
And welcome to SGNP. Darren Southerland on the line, and as usual, up in Sevierville, Tennessee, the week after Thanksgiving, and I'm sure his wife's been out running. I don't know if he's been out running this week or not, or whatever he's doing. I know he's getting ready for working the Christmas season over there at Dollywood, sweating all day long, singing under them hot strobe green and red lights. Arthur Rice.
I need to be running after L.A. this week.
Did you eat a lot?
I did. Don't tell my doctor that, though.
Don't tell the doctor that.
This is my splurge week. You know, I usually don't splurge during Christmas that much, but Thanksgiving, I kind of splurge a little bit during Thanksgiving.
Is, we're talking about Christmas real quick, and, we just went through Thanksgiving, but it's a good time to come up to Dollywood to see y'all's little Christmas show and all that kind of stuff with the Kingdom Heirs?
Oh, man. Yeah, Dollywood is beautiful at Christmas. It's just transforms into just a magical place. It really is. All the lights and all the Christmas decorations and everything really is cool. And the Christmas shows are just incredible. They really are. And so they'd enjoy it.
I'm starting to think, from watching your buddy Jeff Chapman's post, bass singer up there with you at the Kingdom Heirs, that y'all need to dress him up as the Grinch. Because he's got the same problem my wife says I have. We watch so much TV news and politics that we may both be turning into angry white men watching what some of these politicians do.
That's close. That's close.
Well, we're going to be talking to bass singers today, Arthur, and we mentioned Jeff, but I think he's the dean of all bass singers. And he's one of your dearest friends, I know, and we've been waiting on doing this interview for some time. And let me tell you this, and we got Ray Dean Reese on the line. Ray Dean, Darren Southerland, you don't know this, but the first gospel tape I ever listened to at 16 years old was you guys with the Kingsmen doing Mississippi Live. And I love that tape, and I went from that tape to buying Stand Up at Opryland, and I can still quote it word for word when Hamill said, when Roy Acuff got up and said, "Would you please make Welcome to the Grand Ole Opry the Blackwood," or what would he say? He said, "The Statesman." The Statesman.
Yeah.
And then Hamill looked over at him and said, "Roy, if you're going to do it again and you say the Blackwood Brothers, I'm going home."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, we had a great time that time. And Mississippi was a great recording, too. We
awesome.
had a good time there.
Awesome. One of my favorite songs.
Well, thank you for having me on your program.
Nah.
And, Arthur and I go way back. In fact, we're truly cousins.
Y'all are truly, that is right. Y'all are truly cousins.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you,
I don't know where. Let me say this.
Go ahead.
Maybe get it started, or you
yeah,
can refer to this.
you go ahead and do
But
whatever
the
you want.
first quartet that I ever sang in started, singing as with a quartet. Was with Arthur's daddy, and I was 14 years old.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Arthur's daddy was the lead singer, and of course we'd been going around to singing schools together. Remember the singing schools? I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't remember. I'm too young for that. But
He's a young one.
Yeah.
He don't remember that.
Yeah, but they had back in the 50s and 60s, and they may still have some, but back then the singing schools was the thing, buddy. We had, I'll remember this name, a gentleman by the name of Frank Reed from around here in Asheville. He went about having singing schools, and we'd learn the shape notes and all of that, and just everybody together in, and then we'd bring in the new song book that the churches had ordered, and we'd sing them songs, and that's I started, attending those things when I was just a kid, and his Arthur's daddy was very influential in that. He could read the shape notes, and he could just lead the singings, and so we got together. He heard me trying to sing bass in the choir, and he said, well, let's just get us together a little quartet. So we did, and that was the first one that I ever sang was with Arthur's daddy.
So you started singing bass. How old were you, Ray Dean?
Well, I was about 14 when we started that quartet, and of course I sang it in the choir best I could. Tried to, anyway.
Yeah.
I say the choir, we'd have those in those singing schools, and in church, we just sang out of the hymn book.
Right. What's your favorite song out of the hymn book, Ray?
One that I do now, and that I do every once in a while now. Well, there's a couple of them. One of them was the old song, "If I Could Hear My Mother Pray Again."
Yeah.
And then I love "The Eastern Gate." That's one of my favorite songs.
That's my granny's
The
favorite
Eastern
song.
Gate. Yeah, I love that song.
Nice song. Arthur, you ask him some questions. Y'all family, you know more to ask than I do. Go ahead and just lay it on out there. You got time. See, the great thing about a podcast is we can ask anything we want. It's not like a radio station where we can just have a good time, and that's what we always do. Arthur, what you got?
Hey, Ray, tell the folks, it's always interesting, especially, groups that, that've been together for so long, how they really kind of get started. How, the early days, the stuff that you go through a lot of times you just put up with things, because you're trying to build something, and it takes a while to get that going. Tell the folks, kind of how your start with the Kingsmen and some of the history of it.
Well, Arthur, if you don't care, I'll back up to the beginning there. In 1954, the McKinney brothers, there was three brothers, Raymond Reese and Edwin, I believe it was, or I can't remember the other guy's name. But anyway, they started singing around here in the mountains as the McKinney brothers. In 1956, they came up with the name and adopted the name Kingsmen. In 1956, they changed from the McKinney brothers to the Kingsmen. And so since 1956 to this present day, there has been a Kingsman. And and it just progressed down the line as, I say, a regional group, or they sang part-time. Everybody had a job. And then I came with the group in the early 60s. And Eldridge Fox at that time became the owner of the Kingsmen. Excuse me. And I worked with Eldridge. Noel Jim Hamill came on board with us in 1971, and Eldridge had a piano store. Him and J.G. Whitfield together had two piano stores, one here in Asheville and one in Hendersonville. Well, Hamill went to work for him at the one in Hendersonville, and we headquartered and would practice here at the piano store in Asheville. But it just developed on down through the years, and there's been so many great friends and great people who represent gospel music with this group down through the years. And of course, there's Eldridge Fox, and then Big Jim Hamill, and Squire Parsons, and some kid named Arthur Rice, and I hate to leave Ernie Phillips, the Little Giant.
Yeah.
That was the most popular young man that I believe that I have ever been acquainted with. He was such a good. He never met a stranger, and he always had the most positive attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Hamill had a great time together. He would pull tricks on Big Jim, and Big Jim would throw him off the stage, and he got in Big Jim's closet one time, and he's a small, young man, but he got in Jim's closet one time. Jim opened the door, and Ernie yelled at him, and his pants fell off.
I got to stop you there for just a second and go back. We got to take a commercial break, but I'm going to come back and ask you a question real quick.
This is Josh Singletary with Tribute Quartet, and you're listening to SGNP.
Now, here's our announcer.
And that's the Statesman's leader. What's that name?
Hobie Lister.
And that crisper, flakier cracker, boys. What's that name?
Premium Saltine.
Ah, you said it, so let's sing it now.
They're better baked and better wrapped.
Premium Saltine.
Nabisco's crackers in the inner sealed pack.
Premium
And here we are. Let's go up to
Saltine.
St. Louis, where I think the blizzards hit this week, and talk to our good buddy Jeff Turner. Jeff, you just got through with Thanksgiving. I know you're in the grocery industry. I think the blizzards hit up there this week, or am I one state too far west? And having fun up there in St. Louis these days, are you not?
Yeah, the cold is definitely hit for sure. But it's supposed to warm up here later in the week, so we'll be all right.
Does that affect groups traveling up to the Midwest in your area in the Mississippi River Valley through there during the winter months?
Not as much as there used to be.
Really?
When the Lesters when they promoted gospel music in town, there was a lot more, and they don't do much of that anymore. So they're few and far in between these days, unfortunately.
Blame it on Dwayne Guerin. How about that? Our mutual friend.
Dwayne, yeah. Dwayne's a good buddy of mine, and he does a lot of good. Matter of fact, I saw the Blackwood Brothers here about 6 months ago, and Dwayne was the MC. So
nice.
He's a good guy.
Nice. Dwayne was with us not too long ago when we talked about Branson and what was going on down there. Hey, today we're talking to, I call him Mr. Kingsman because truly he is Mr. Kingsman. He's been there the longest. Ray Dean Reese, the bass singer. But tell us a little bit about the Kingsmen, Jeff.
Well, Ray, he joined after getting out of the Army in the early 60s. He joined, he first sung with the Pine Ridge Boys around 1966, and then he joined the Kingsmen in 67. He was with them for a short time, and then Calvin Runyon came back in 68, so Ray was only there about a year maybe. And then he ended up coming back in the early 70s and has been there ever since. So
that makes him Mr. Kingsman, does it not?
I would say so.
Except that short stint where the Kingsmen disbanded, and he was with the Carolina Boys and started that group, and then he retook the name the Kingsmen, which was a great thing. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I had a conversation with him back in the early '90s, and we discussed bass singers and just a really nice guy.
Nice.
Matter of fact, I saw them in concert in 1985, and I was sitting in the front row. And me and my buddy got to the concert about an hour early and watched them set up and everything. We were all excited about the concert. And they were singing a song called "Gonna Be Moving."
Yep.
And they came out in the audience, and Ray stuck the mic in my mouth when it was time for his part of the song, a little part. And I got to sing with the Kingsmen for about 3 seconds.
There you go. You got to join the club. Well, Arthur's a member of the club. Ray's, of course, one of the deans of the club, and now we know Jeff Turner is a member of the Kingsmen. There we go. you got to sing with them. Well, my friend, thank you. We will talk to you next week. Easy enough?
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, be good.
Salty, Nabisco's crackers in the inner seal pack. Premium salty.
Is someone you love playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Hey, this is Darren, and I'm going to tell you some personal information. I've got dear friends who are addicted to methamphetamines. I've got family members who overdosed from heroin and passed away. I've got relatives who suffer alcohol addiction and are alcoholics. You've heard from Russ Taft talk about his problem with alcoholism. Addiction is a scary thing. Anywhere in the country you think about it, addiction's a big problem. Right now, the Addiction Hotline wants to help you and your family. And with the new federal Family Medical Leave Act, you can get the help you deserve. Call the Addiction Hotline today, 1-800-980-1761, 1-800-980-1761, and talk to them about the help you, your friends, or your family may need. Heck, over 43,000 people die every year from drug overdose. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. 1-800-980-1761. 1-800-980-1761. If Russ Taft can stand on stage and then later admit, hey, I've got a problem with alcoholism, you can too. Get the help you deserve, and I promise you, your heart will be so much happier for it, not to mention your family and friends.
Hi, I'm Karen Peck Gooch with Karen Peckany River, and you're listening to the best in gospel music right here on SGNP.
Welcome back to SGNP. Darren Southerland, Arthur Rice. We got Ray Dean Reese on the line with us today. Ray Dean's telling us stories. I'm laughing even through the commercials about him. I got to stop you for just a minute because you taught me something I didn't know, and that's that Hamill worked at a piano store for Eldridge Fox. Okay. Now, question.
Yeah.
Now, question. Did Hamill work on the pianos, or was he a salesman selling the pianos? Or did he move the pianos? What did Hamill do exactly for Eldridge? Because I can just hear him selling a piano right now. I mean, that had to be fun.
Yeah, well, that was about it. He got him an easy chair back in the office, and he would wait on the customers when they came in, and and he did quite well too.
Can you?
I mean, he could talk an Eskimo into buying a snowball.
Arthur, am I just being the fan on the outside? And y'all helped me with this right here because y'all knew him personally and loved him personally. But I can imagine the preacher walking in from Main Street Baptist Church saying, Brother Jim, we just need this little piano for our church service. And Hamill probably telling him, no, that one ain't going to serve you right. You need this one that's a couple $1,000s more because it's going to draw a much larger crowd when folks like the Kingsmen and other folks come sing for you. And it plays so well, people will want to join your church. Would that be a good way to put it there, Ray Dean?
Well, I don't know whether it would go to that extent or not. It might, but before the preacher got out of there, he'd have a much better piano, and of course Hamill would insert the fact that, well, you're just so much down and so much a month.
That was my whole idea behind that question was, so many times, like I said, especially in the early days, you just think of these groups in the way that they are now, and this is all they do. But when in the early days, when you were starting out, you did. You worked during the week and sang on the weekends, and you worked so that you could go sing. And and a lot of people don't know. They don't know that. They don't know that that history and the amount of time and that you put into growing this. It just doesn't happen, and it very, very seldom does something just happen. It takes work.
Yeah, it sure does. And the things back then, we if we played an instrument, everybody furnished their own instrument. They had it fixed if it tore up. We furnished our own clothes. Now sometimes if there was more offering than there was love, as Hamill used to say, we might all end up getting suits alike, things like that.
Yeah.
But and part of that would have to come out of our income, that whatever we were doing. But the thing about it is, back then, we loved to sing. Well, we do now too, but let me say it this way: back when everything we started and they started, we were interested in singing, interested in just singing and spreading the gospel by song,
Mm-hmm.
and we loved it. We loved it enough that we would go down to some church on a Saturday night, or fifth Saturday night, or fifth Sunday night, and just hang out with a lot of the other groups. And I will tell you this, Arthur. I know you probably remember this, but your partner there probably don't know it. But also right here in Asheville, when I was talking about those singing schools, there was another bass singer by the name of Rex Nealon.
Uh-huh.
And then also another singer by the name of London Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course there was Calvin Runyon around here. And so all four of us was within rock throwing distance of each other. And we all would go to those singing schools. And we would sacrifice, if it was a weekly singing school, we'd call up and say, well, I can't be there today. You're going to have to get somebody to handle my job. I've got something that's real important for me to do tonight. And then we'd travel down to Marshall or somewhere and go to the singing school. So we'd sacrifice a job and everything else,
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. You may remember this. I can't remember what year it was. I remember I was young, but y'all came to our home church there, Pleasant Hill Baptist Church, and sang at a singing. And that at that time, you had, it really was a ton of fun. I can't remember when that was. Probably 70, maybe 71.
Sometime in the 70s, early 70s.
Early 70s, yeah. And it was, y'all were there, Jim McCauley, John Broom. It really was the ton of fun. And I'll never forget. We had those old slat bottom benches or pews. And I don't know if you ever remember those, Darren, but they used to be slat bottom, and if you had too much weight on one side, those slats would kind of separate a little bit.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was sitting on the front row, and the second row, there was a guy sitting on the left-hand side. Well, Jim McCauley came in, John Broom came in, and I think it was Eldridge, I believe, and they all sat on the right-hand side of pew, on that second pew. And when they did, the weight of their weight kind of spread those slats a little bit. When they got up, it pinched the leg of that guy sitting right beside me, and he jumped up and shouted. I will never forget that. That was one of the funniest things that I remember. That I don't remember anything else about the singing, but I remember that.
Yeah. Well, and then back in those days, being everybody had a job, everybody worked, but the Kingsmen became a really, really progressive regional group back then. Part-time group,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, back then, just about everybody knew everybody anywhere, and so there's a man by the name of Riley. Was it Riley Smith?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Riley Smith.
He started having singings here in the Asheville City Auditorium, and he would have groups like the Spears and the Statesmen and the Blackwoods and the Kingsmen.
Yeah.
They would host the thing, and then as time went on, then Eldridge began hosting them. And we still, as they were singing, the Kingsmen was part time, but then they began to people around the country began to recognize the fact that those boys, really loved singing. So it was about 1971 before maybe in 71. Yeah, 71 or so was the first time that the Kingsmen ever went full time.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, we had, well, the first group I sung with back in the middle 60s, of course, was part-time, but that consisted of Kermit Jamerson, Frank Cutshaw, myself, Eldridge Fox, and Ray Talley played the piano. And we sang that way a while and sang around. And then in the early 70s, Calvin Runyon was singing bass in that late part of late middle 70s or 60s, and he decided to go to Atlanta and sing in another. Well, he went with the Dixie Echoes at that time. So then I came back with the Kingsmen, and we stayed together that way until about 1971, and then. Jerry Red and Jim, not Jerry Red, but Jerry Red was singing with us. But a guy named Johnny Perrick, Hamill came first, and then we hired Johnny Perrick, and that's the way we were for a long time. Was Johnny Perrick was singing tenor, Jim Hamill singing lead, Eldridge singing baritone, I sang bass. Charles Abey from down in Morganton was playing the piano.
Yeah.
Big John Broom played the drums and was playing the drums, and Jim McCauley played the bass. Leonard Hollifield played the guitars back then.
Yeah.
That's the way. That was 1970. I'm saying 1971. It may vary some part. But.
You know, a lot of people don't know too, Ray, that y'all had a TV program out of Greenville that you did for several years, and
yeah, we had one. Well, the first one we did was in Greenville, South Carolina, on the station down there. Well, before that was the Bob Pooh program.
Right.
That was really, really a great TV. It went nationwide, and the Kingsmen were part of that. And then, in the middle 70s, I guess it was, we had one of our own in Greenville at the same channel there, and it was sponsored by Colonial Mobile Homes, I believe it was.
Yeah.
That was our sponsor, and we had that for a long time. But one that really got across the nation was one that we did with a man named Sonny Simmons in Nashville, Tennessee. In fact, he was our booking agency at that time, and it's called Century 2. And he put together a program with the Kingsmen and the Tennesseans and the Seagull Brothers and Naomi. And each week we would have a country singer as a guest and come in and sing, with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing, it was called the Music City Special. And I mean, it went everywhere. It went everywhere for a long time.
That really helped you launch y'all. It really did.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
No doubt.
And another one.
Go ahead.
Another one we had was in Knoxville with Archie Campbell. It was called Archie Campbell, Kingsman and Archie Campbell, I believe the way it was. Anyway, we had that program there for a while. But back in those days, that was a great outlet to get the people acquainted with quartet singing. Sure was.
Ray, tell us about, you're the only gospel group that ever got to sing at the White House that we can recall. Tell us what that experience was like.
Well, the experience was just, it was great. I'll tell you how that happened, Arthur, was they had President Jimmy Carter, he before he was, when he was governor of Tennessee, or Georgia,
yeah,
he always came to their singings down in Waycross, Georgia, and, different big singings we'd have down there. He loved gospel music. Well, when he got in the White House, he decided that he was going to have him a Sunday afternoon, I don't remember how they called it, but a singing on the lawn at the White House. So we were I was trying to think. Yeah, we were the only quartet there. The Spear family was there with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot remember. There was another group that came with us. I can't remember who it was now. But anyway, we had a great time there. And it was so much different in that era than it is now. And the only one thing that I can say about that was we pulled the old smoking scenic cruiser diesel bus up to the gate at the White House. And they thought that, I guess half of them thought we were spraying from mosquitoes the way that thing was blowing out smoke. We pulled that thing into a parking area there, and we left our mark because it leaked oil all over that clean driveway.
They're still trying to get that oil up.
Yeah.
Did you get a tour? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Did you get a tour? Did you get an autograph? Did you get your picture made with the president and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. We got autographs, got pictures made with him, and some of them got to go in, but most of the time it was real busy outside, and I think some of the family that went with us might have got to go in the White House, but we was all excited. Everything set out there, and what was his girl's name?
Amy.
No.
Yeah.
She was just a little girl then, and she was. I remember her over there on the south lawn somewhere. She was up in a tree. She climbed a tree and was watching all the activities over there. Oh, but we had a great time. You
know, Ray Dean, we've talked to different groups, and they've told us funny stories. You may have heard some of them. Like Archie Watkins tells of the story of Muhammad Ali getting on their bus in South Georgia in the early 70s and scaring Martin Cook to death. And then when we was talking to Becky Simmons not too long ago, she was talking about your late friend Eldridge Fox leaving his toupee in the glove box of her car when he went to bar it in Nashville one time. You know, we've talked about the funny things going on with Hamill. What's some of the funny stories of the Kingsmen that you want to tell today that would make everybody laugh and make their holiday seasons merry and bright? Because, you know, Ray, you're the elder statesman of the bass singers now. And just like J.D. used to tell anything he wanted and get by with it, you've assumed that position, has he not, Arthur?
Pretty much.
So,
well, okay.
So tell us, Ray, tell us something funny that we can all laugh and we'll say, oh my, but that is funny.
Well, we were always known back in the day for playing golf. Always known for playing golf. Now, those golf stories, I can't relate all of those, but one time we were in, I believe it was Kinston, North Carolina. And we would go all night just to get to tee off the next morning wherever we were singing. Well, we had pulled into this motel and got a room, and I don't remember who went in and got it, but we climbed off the bus first thing, got a cab, and went to the golf course. Okay, well, whoever got the room, we'd always post a note on the bus, so when we come back from playing golf, we'd know which room to go to. Well, whoever it was that got the room, they noticed a little sign in the lobby of the hotel in the door that there was a, well, I don't know if this will mess the story up or not, but I'll tell you this. And it had a room number on it. There's certain people going to meet at this room, okay? So they put... So when we got back to the bus, the other guys had already, cleaned up and everything. They were on the bus. And Hamill, of course, he would just get out of the car, the cab, and he'd say, somebody put my golf clubs on, up, and somebody hand me my bag. He never would get back on the bus. He didn't see what room it was. So anyway, somebody handed him the bag out, and he said, well, what room we in? And we said, room 101. And so away he went, carrying his bag. So we all knew what was fixing to happen. Because we watched him walk to the room, and the door was cracked, and he just pushed it open and went on in. Well, in a second, she seen him coming back out backwards, holding his bag, and just waving his arms out. You know, I can imagine what he was saying. And this woman was chewing him absolutely out. I mean, she threatened to call the law on him and all that. So the gist of the story is the sign in the front of the motel said, "All models report to room 101." And there was a pantyhose company having model, people audition for models. Whose leg looked the best in their pantyhose, I guess. I don't know what it was, but that's what he walked in on. And son, we never heard the. Huh?
Go ahead, keep going. I got it. Go.
Oh, we never heard the last of that one there, and then just so many of them. But
Ray Dean, I've got to ask you this one here, okay? I asked Arthur, and he laughed, and I've asked Greg, and Greg said he wasn't there. Arthur wasn't there. You're probably the only living person in America that was there. And if you need to delete this out, and you don't want to tell about the story, but it's been made public, and Arthur knows what story I'm fixing to go to. We know Hamill's daddy was one of the greatest evangelists of the of the 50s and the 60s over in Memphis. Okay.
Yeah.
He pastored the huge Assembly of God there in Memphis. Okay. You guys were singing in Memphis in the deep hot 70s or 60s, early 70s, whenever it was, at his church. And Hamill takes off his jacket and spins it around and around. And as he's spinning it, and you know what? Back in those days, people smoked just like people drink Coca-Colas today. It was really no big deal. But as Hamill's spinning his coat, the story goes, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's saying, "We don't need no pool halls in this town," and everybody was amen. "We don't need no drinking in this town," and everybody was amen. "We don't need this, that, and another," and everybody's amen. And the whole time he's doing that and spinning his coats, Salem cigarettes are shooting out like arrows. What is Ray Dean Reese doing at this point, looking out at the crowd, seeing these Salem Spirit cigarettes fly out? And I'm just saying Salem. They could have been Camels or whatever. But A, is the story true? And B, what's Ray Dean thinking? And C, what did y'all say to him on the bus? Because you never quit giving him a hard time about it if it happened, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, you might have to delete this or change it around, but actually that didn't happen with us about the cigarettes.
Okay.
That coat slinging thing and the cigarettes falling out happened when he was singing with the Weatherfords. And of course, Lily Fern, boy, she was. I mean, they were as Pentecostal as you get. And he got all excited and threw his coat back in the choir, and cigarettes went everywhere.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's when that one happened. But of course, I told you the one about Ernie hiding in his closet.
Yeah.
And Hamill was just he was. A lot of people didn't understand Brother Jim, but he was just. He was a quartet man from head to toe, and that's what he lived for.
No doubt.
And he was some kind of guy. Loved him, but we loved playing golf together. Him, and he would always he got on Eldridge's nerves so many times playing golf. Eldridge was you could say, watch that, don't step on that rock there or something, or watch that rock, and of course that would linger in Fox's mind. And what I'm getting at is a story.
Yeah.
One time, we were on playing, and there's this par 3, and there was a lake right in front of it, and he, Eldridge knocked it in the lake. And around that, and the green was the first thing on the side of the lake, and it had a rock wall around it on the other side of the lake from where we were playing. So Eldridge dropped us, another ball, and was going to knock it over the creek. And old Hamill walked up, not in his way, but you could hear Hamill say, "Boy, I'd hate to have to go over that water and look at that wall right there in front of it. My goodness, I'd hate to have that shot." Eldridge went slam right into that rock wall and back in the water. There's so many of them. One of them we played at, now this one was really funny, and we call it the Hamill Tree. I think it's still there on the TPC down there in Jacksonville, where that famous par 17 hole is.
Yeah.
Over the lake.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We was playing there one time, and over there of course we didn't play back there where the big fellas hit it. We couldn't hit it that good, but we played the white tees, for the amateurs, and they were over there to the left of the big tee, and we played from there. Well, Hamill, after about hitting 4 balls into the water and stood on that green, he turned around and took his club and hit it against a pine tree there. And he broke that club, and he left a gap in that pine tree where he hit it with it. And we called that the Hamill Tree ever since then. We'd see it on television. We'd say, "There's the Hamill Tree." But what he did, the funniest thing was, he laid him a golf ball down on the cart path, and he putted that sucker all the way around that lake and all the way up on that green. He putted it. He putted it right down the cart path, across the bridge, and up on the green. He was bound determined he was going to get a golf ball on that green.
And then he took an 8. Then he took an 8, right?
No, he took a par.
Ray, what's up with the Kingsmen these days, my friend?
Well, we are very well blessed. We have been, and I feel blessed, and Arthur can vouch for this in our industry. The Kingdomaires are like us in this sense. Our employees, the length of stay with our employees is just phenomenal. The most that I have lost people is like 5 or 6 years. Everybody's been here 5 or 6 years before they ever went somewhere else, and that's saying a lot for what we do in our industry. People are interested. People love what they're doing when we're out there spreading the gospel in song. And back, let's see, it was I can't remember now. Well, October. No, it was before the Quartet convention. Oh, about 2 weeks before the Quartet convention, 3 weeks, I guess it was. Randy Crawford, that sang baritone for us at that time, he'd been here 12 years, and we were down in Mississippi, and he had a series of strokes. We were there in a motel room. He had 3 strokes that day, and so when he got from the hospital and everything, the doctors ordered him completely off the road, no more traveling. So we had to get us a baritone. And just about 2 months before that, Bob Sellers, who had been here 7 years, came off of the road. And so there we were at that time, having in that time period, having to replace 2 members, which is, hey, and it happens. But I said all that to say this: we have a very good team, always have a good team, and I don't begrudge anybody if they need to go somewhere, like go back home, spend the time with their family, or go and do something. A lot of them go solo, so they can spend more time at home doing one thing or another. That's fine, whatever they're led to do. But in that period of time, we had to find a baritone singer and a lead singer. But we were fortunate enough that a couple of the guys that had been with us in years past, they stepped up to help us while we were trying out people. And so then we hired a guy from hired a lead singer from Wiggins, Mississippi, and his name is Chris Bryant. And he had been through the years. He had been with the Bibletone Quartet down there, Bibletones,
Mm-hmm.
and we heard him. And several people heard him before we did, and called us and suggested him to us. And they suggested he give us a call, and he did. And that worked out. And then the baritone singer, a young man by the name of Alan Kendall from over here in Hiwassee, Georgia, came with us. We hired him. And he's been with us now for 3.5 months. So
Nice.
everything's great. Everything's great. You know, and these boys, they're good singers. They're good teammates. They're good to get along on the bus. They're good hard workers. And I've told everybody, people will come by and say, "Boy, that group sounds is good." Now, I'm not saying this; the people are saying it. Says the group sounds as good or better than you have in a long time. And I just simply say thank you, and it's a God thing. I mean, because we would. It took us about 3 months to get it all put together, but we got it done. The Lord got it done. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And Arthur knows how many you got to, how trying out new members, how long that takes, and what you got to look for.
Yeah.
But
And a lot of times it's not so much are they good singers? It's,
yeah.
Are we going to enjoy working with them? You know.
Yeah, and and because on that bus, we spend more time on that bus than we do at home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't want nobody that can't get along with somebody, you know.
Ray, we could talk about literally. I'm sitting here looking at the clock. We're pushing time, but we're going to have to visit with you again because we could literally talk about the Kingsmen another 3 hours and couldn't get everything out. Because think about this: we've talked this whole conversation, and we hadn't spent hardly any time talking about Squire Parsons, one of the greatest songwriters that's ever walked the face of the earth.
Time got away from me.
Yeah,
time got away from me.
And it's nothing. It's nothing.
And I hadn't got. I hadn't got that far yet.
Yeah, no, and you hadn't. And I mean, and I'm just talking about the legacy of the Kingsmen, and the fact that you've been there basically from day one. It seems like every time we get in a conversation that Hamill's name is brought up, the whole conversation goes in that direction, does it not, Arthur? I mean, it just, it just, when you talk about Greg, we ain't mentioned Anthony. What a piano player, Anthony Berger.
Yeah.
I mean, tremendous. You saw him from a young kid till he was a grown
14
man.
years old.
Till a grown man. And, I mean, Ray, this is the last question I'll ask, and Arthur, you can ask anything you want when you leave here, when we get through here just a second. But when Ray looks back at his history and his legacy with the Kingsmen, what one vivid picture comes in your mind? What one place are you singing, and you're thinking to yourself, Lord, I don't know why you put me here, but I sure am thankful that you did. And I sure am a blessed man to be doing this. Where does that come in?
Well, in a concert in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we did an album called Chattanooga Live, and we had church that night. And it was that was the night that I realized that I just I'm so. Well, I was thankful to begin with, but I realized how thankful I am now, every night, for where I'm at in singing all these years. Not where I'm at, period, but what I've been able to do all these years and sing. not only spread the gospel in song, but all the great people that I've been fortunate enough to meet or sing with down through the years. And it's just such a blessing. And we were still blessed nowadays. And but that Chattanooga Live, we were singing the Old Ship of Zion, and revival broke out in that place. There's about 3,000 people there, and we had a great, great time. It was Ernie and Hamill and Squire and myself, and Eldridge Fox was there. He was playing the keyboard. We had the full band, and Nick Bruno was playing the piano. I can't remember if it was Nick or Anthony, but anyway, we had revival that night, and that's just those things happen, and you realize how fortunate you are and how blessed you are, because it's just I don't know, if it wasn't for the Lord and wasn't for Him letting me sing, I don't know where I'd be today, or if I'd even be here. You know?
Yeah.
He saved me, and He pulled me out of, away from things that could have hindered me.
I'll tell you a quick story just from the radio industry. There was an old DJ in Asheville, North Carolina, made a big name for himself in here in Atlanta that I was good friends with, by the name of, you probably know him or heard of him, Rhubarb Jones. And Rhubarb said to me one time when I was on the gospel station, he said, "Darren, I need you to get me a copy of an album." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Chattanooga Live with the Kingsmen." And Rhubarb loved that. He was a great country music DJ, but he loved that album when we found it. So that's a neat story. That's a neat story. Arthur, you got anything? I know we could sit here and talk for days, but
oh yeah,
we're gonna have to get Ray Dean back. You know.
Oh yeah, it's worth it just to tell stories. There's some great fun stuff.
Yeah, and again, I apologize if we hadn't got to anybody, because there's so much history in the Kingsmen. You was talking about Squire and the Eldridge Fox and the guys that are no longer with us. And I'll say this: you talking about being fortunate to be with this group or to have this group. I was telling Arthur this here a few weeks ago. To my knowledge, the Kingsmen are the only active group today that has 6 individual members in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. And that is quite an honor.
Yeah.
That is an honor.
No doubt. And no doubt. And Ray, are you in the hall right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's why I was going to say we got another one that's going to be in the hall before it's all over with, and my partner Arthur Rice. Don't you agree, Ray?
Oh, yeah. We got to figure out how to get him in there. And them understand.
They're having a Democratic voter registration convention coming up here in Atlanta, and they teach you how to rig votes. So me and you can go and we can rig the vote to get Arthur in there. What do you think if we learn that stuff? You think we'll be all right?
Well, what am I going to say?
Don't say nothing, because Democrats love Ray Reese and Republicans love Ray Reese. I was just kidding. Buddy, we appreciate your time, my friend. We're going to do this again, can we?
Yes, sir. Anytime, boys. And we'll try to condense it a little bit more. And my apologies again for not getting through everything.
No, we had fun, and we love digging like this, and that's what makes us a little different. Ain't that right, Arthur?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say this.
Go ahead.
To everybody that is listening out there. Thank you guys for what you're doing in this and letting people learn more about our industry. But I want to thank each and one of them for supporting gospel music and all the quartets, not just the Kingsmen, but all the gospel music singers. And anytime you get a chance, no matter who it is, come out and see them, visit with them. Okay?
There you go. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Yeah.
Arthur, you there?
Yeah.
Let's me and you finish. We'll take about 2 minutes, and we'll finish up. Ray, are you there, or did you hang up?
No, I'm here.
All right. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. And, hey, we you know what? Here's what makes this show fun, and here's what makes people like it, is because we just tell the truth. We all love the Lord, and we have a good time. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So, anyway, thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Arthur, me and you.
Hey, asked Arthur about it. He knows about it, and I think Squire wrote it in his book about the time that I spit tobacco juice in Squire's coffee.
There we go. I'll ask him that. Here we go. Let's ask, because we're going to be in a break right here. We're coming back from break. We'll do this real quick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to SGMP. I said we were going to hang up on Ray. Ray acted like we were going to hang up on Ray Dean. But Ray Dean reminded me of a story as we were in the break about Squire or Arthur spitting in Squire Parsons' coffee. And this story is worth listening to this whole 45-minute interview. Guys, I'm going to let you take it away. And then, Arthur, when you're through, just ask me the question we always ask, and we'll go from there. Fair enough?
Well, what it was I was driving the bus, and and it was early in the morning, and Squire, he would be in bed, old Squire Parsons, and his mind would get to wondering about a song, and he'd get to writing a song in his mind. So he'd get up, come up in front of the bus, and sit in the buddy seat, which is next to the driver's seat, next to the door. And he'd sit there and, he'd hum and say words, and he'd write it all down, write the notes down. Well, he had made him a cup of coffee in the coffee machine before he came up to the front. He'd been sitting there writing and drinking his coffee, and every once in a while we'd talk to one another, but going on down the road. Well, he forgot something in the back. He had to go get it or something to do with his writing. And so he set his coffee up on the dashboard of the bus. And so back in those days, driving, I never did smoke, but I sure chewed tobacco. and so, and I wasn't even thinking.
Now Ray, I gotta stop you there, because Arthur told me one time when he joined that group, y'all was the only bus he was ever on that had a chimney. Okay.
Yeah, well, that wasn't me.
No, it wasn't.
That wasn't me. That's the story for another, maybe someday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm driving down the road, and I just reached up there and got his coffee and spit in it. I wasn't even thinking. And then I set it back where it was, driving on down the road, and here comes Squire. He sit back down, and he, wasn't paying attention. He didn't think nothing about that, or what I didn't think that I had done something like that. So he reached up there and took him a big slurp of his coffee. And it went all over everything. He spit it out. And he realized what it tastes like. And he looked at me and he said, "Reese, you are the dumber than dirt. You are dumber than dirt."
Is that all he said? Is that all he said, Reese?
Yeah.
That's all he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he went back and wrote "Hello, Mama" when he got the.
Yeah. You can. Okay, you'll have to condense this. Take this one off. But Arthur knows this full story. That's the first and the last time I ever heard Squire Parsons say a bad word. Was when he sipped that coffee.
That's funny.
And it was in German.
Yeah.
That's
he
funny.
said, "Reese, you're dumber than dirt. What in the shizzle was you thinking about?"
That's funny.
And now, if you can speak German, you know what that is.
That's funny. All righty. Well, Ray Dean, we appreciate it again, my friend. Arthur, what do we always say when we're getting out of here?
Hey, what's wrong with living right anyways?
Ain't one thing we're living wrong. Ain't one thing we're living wrong. Thank you guys for listening to SGNP. Y'all have a good holiday season. We'll talk.
SGNP is excited you chose to listen today. If you'd kindly leave a remark and rating in the podcast remarks section, we surely would appreciate it. Please share with a friend or family member. Look for us on Facebook, Twitter, and our new website, southerngospelnewspodcast.com. To advertise your products, services, concert event, or new project on SGNP and reach a 100% guaranteed number of people in your area, call Tim Newton at 770-874-3200 or email him today, tnewton@bgadgroup.com. Let us geo-target our ads for you, something radio nor magazine can do.